Our next section, lesson 1.2, is entitled, Where Does the Time Go? So in this section, we're mostly going to look at allocating our time and different charts. So, time is what we want most, but what we use worst. Guess that's pretty accurate. Where does the time go? I'm not asking in the philosophical way as in, holy smokes, it's almost Halloween. Where does the time go? I'm thinking more literally, where exactly does your time go? Have you ever kept track of what exactly you accomplish within the 24 hours you're given every day? If you have very limited funds, you may be very careful about how you spend what you have. But we all have limited time. It's not many people think, and not many people think about whether or not they are using that time wisely. What does this quote at the beginning of the lesson mean to you? So, of course, I don't know what you would think, but many of us probably feel like we never have enough time. And we may not manage it efficiently. I don't know about you, but this hasn't been quite summer break for me. I've been very, very busy working on these lessons and on my other jobs and running my daughter around. So I definitely don't feel like I have enough time in the day. It says, write down 3 activities you think you spend the most time on during an average week. Don't think about it too much. Just come up with 3 off the top of your head. So for me, it would be teaching. It would be working my other job as a desk manager at a local gym, and probably spending time or carting my child somewhere. Got this big table here. It says, count the number of spaces containing each letter in the time chart. Use the results to fill in the following chart, writing the total number of hours devoted to each activity during the week. So C is standing for class, H for homework, S for sleep, W for work, and O for other. And so we can go through and count these. I hope there's no class on Sunday. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Is that all of them? So in class, this person spends 15 hours a week. Now, I'm not going to go through and count each one. I'll go ahead and tell you. There's 32 H's in that table, 54 S's for sleep, so 54 hours of sleep. This person worked 15 hours in that week and did other things for 52 hours. Without adding the hours in the table, how can you decide what the total number of hours should be? Well, if we look back over here, there's 7 days in the week. There's 24 hours in a day, which we didn't even really need to look at that. And 7 times 24 is 168 hours. So whatever we found up there should total to 168. If not, we missed something. Okay, most college advisors will tell you that a good rule of thumb is to allow 2 hours of study time outside of class for each hour spent in class. And that is very true. And so for an online class, that basically means for every hour that you spend listening to this and studying, then you need to study and do your assignments for at least 2 hours for the time you listen to the lesson and take notes. Anyway, is the student that filled out the table in question 3 following that advice? So they were in class for 15 hours. And if they spend study time 2 hours, then that would give us 30 hours. And this person did homework for 32 hours. So, yes, they are following that advice and doing it one better. Use your results from question 3 and 4 to fill in the next chart with the percentage of hours in a week devoted to each activity. So to find the percent, we take the original, or our amount of hours, and divide by the total. And that gives us 0.09 for the first one here. And so the second one, homework, would be 32 divided by 168 to give us 0.19. And you go further like that. 54 divided by 168 is 32%. I was supposed to write these as percents, so let's go back here. So we have 9%, 19%. 54 divided by 168 is 0.32 or 32%. 15 divided by 168 is 9%, just as the same with class. And other 52 divided by 168 is 0.31 or 31%. It says studies have shown that college students get about 6.5 hours of sleep per night on average, but that academic achievement improves when students average 8 hours of sleep. What percentage of the hours in a week would be devoted to sleep if you get 6.5 hours per night? So 6.5 hours over a 24-hour period would be 27% of the day. What about for 8 hours? So 8 hours of a 24-hour period is 33% of the day. So how is this student doing when it comes to sleep? It says he slept 32% of the time. That's pretty good. So pretty close to 33 there. So 32% is close to 8 hours per night. So we've got a pretty good student. A circle can be divided into 360 equal units of measure. So now we're going to look at, what would we do if we wanted to make a pie chart of this information. In other words, an entire circle is made up of 360 degrees. Multiply the decimal form of each percentage in question 6 by 360 degrees and put the results in the chart. So I'm going to go back here and grab our information. And so what we're going to do is, for the first one, we're going to take 9%, or 0.09, and multiply by 360 degrees. Okay, and that gives us 32 degrees. So what that means is, if we were putting this in a circle, then 32 degrees of the circle would be taken up by class time. For homework, we'll take 0.19 and multiply by 360 degrees. And that gives us 68 degrees. And you continue doing that for each of them. So for sleep, we've got 0.32 times 360. That's 115 degrees. For work, that's 0.09 times 360, 32 degrees again. And other 0.31 times 360 is 112 degrees. Okay, so next example. A pie chart is a diagram used to compare the relative sizes of different parts of a whole. For example, the pie chart below, adapted from a USA Today survey, describes people's hand-washing tendencies when using a public restroom. In this case, the whole is the number of people surveyed. So the whole pie is all the people surveyed. And each of the parts is the percentage of the folks that give a certain response. So it says 70% of people always wash their hands after using a public restroom. Well, that's a very good thing to do. So, and I can say that I always do. Okay, so the always category fills 70% of the circle. Okay, so over half, quite a bit over half, is filled by the always. So that's good. Remember that the full circle measures 360 degrees. So this portion represents 0.7 times 360 degrees, or 252 degrees. So if we were to measure this angle from here to here, it should be 252 degrees. It says the sometimes category fills 29% and the never just 1%. How many degrees do each of those sections cover in the pie chart? So the sometimes is 29%, so 0.29 times 360 . It should cover 104.4%. And never, 1% is the same as 0.01. And so that would cover just 3.6 degrees of your graph. What do you think the percentages would be if the question was, how often do you wash your hands after using a public restroom when nobody else is in there with you? So I guess what it's saying here is that people may be more likely to wash their hands if somebody's standing next to them and watching that they washed their hands, or if they took a friend with them to the bathroom, than not. So we would say that, I guess, the always, if no one was there with you, category may be smaller. Back to our student and how they spend their time during the week. We want to create a pie graph for this. And it says each little section in our pie chart is 10 degrees. So that'll make it easier for us. So I'll go back and grab some information again. Okay. So class, actually, we're going to color code it, so let's not even worry about that. So for class, that was 32 degrees. So if we start right here, then we're going to go a little over 30. Okay? And we can shade that. And that was 9% for the time this student is in class. Okay? Next, there was homework, and that is 68 degrees. That was supposed to be degrees up there. Okay, so this little section here, what's left is 8, so that's good. And so then we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I realize, you know, we're not going to get exact here. And that's okay. I can't seem to draw the line. There we go. That's a little bit better. So we used 19% of the day or the week for homework. Okay, next, sleep was 115 degrees. So starting here, we just count 1, 2, 3, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so about halfway there was our sleep. And sleep was 32%. Work, 32 degrees again, so something like that. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's close. That wasn't 32 degrees, that was 9% for work. Gave us 32 degrees. And so this last section ought to be other. And it is. So the other was 31% of the day. Okay, so there's our pie chart. Does the pie chart make it easy to analyze the amount of time the student spends on each activity? Well, I believe it does. I think you would agree that it makes it easier to compare the portions of the week spent on each activity. Okay? Because we can easily look at the pie chart and see that most of the time is spent on sleep and other, and the smallest amount in class and at work. Next, pizza is easily one of America's favorite foods, and it's pretty interesting to study some of the numbers involved in just how much we like pizza. Each year, a pizza industry organization releases a State of the Industry report, which is like the State of the Union address, but a whole lot tastier. According to one recent report, Americans eat approximately 100 acres of pizza each day. Now, that's not just one, that's all of us, but still. An acre, by the way, is pretty close to the size of a football field. So on average, 350 slices of pizza are eaten in the United States every second. Overall, there are 67,554 pizza stores in the United States. Pizza Hut is one, Little Caesars, Domino's, and Papa John's are just some of the largest chains. Chain restaurants actually make up less than half of all the pizza places nationally. The number of stores and percentage of sales are displayed in pie charts on the next page. It says how many slices of pizza are eaten per second in the United States. What about per hour, per day? Okay, so we were already told that we eat 350 slices per second. So how many would we eat per hour? Well, it would be 350 slices times 60 seconds. That'll give us minutes, or how many minutes. If we timed by 60 minutes, then that will give us how many hours. So 1,260,000 slices per hour. How could we find out how many per day? Well, we take that number and multiply by 24 hours in a day, and we end up with 30,240,000 slices per day. It asks us to write the last number verbally as well as numerically, so just a little practice there. We would write this as 30,000 200 oh, that was supposed to be million. What about that? 30,240,000. And notice I didn't write 240,000. Technically, you're not supposed to put the and there. That's okay if you do. So in the year this report was published, there were about 311 million people in the United States. So how many pieces of pizza did the average American eat that year? So if we take how much all of the United States eats, 30,240,000 slices, and divide that, or excuse me, well, what was the question? How many pizzas did the average American eat that year? Oh, okay, so we need the how many per year. Sorry about that. So that many slices in one day. So we'd multiply by 365 days. And that will give us how many slices were eaten in a year. It's 11,037,600,000 slices per year for all of the United States. So how would we find out how many were eaten a year per person? Well, if we take that 11,037,600,000 and divide it by how many people are in the United States, so 311 million, then we get about 35 and a half, and I guess you can eat half a slice, can't you? So 35 and a half slices per person. Does that sound about right for you? I'm not sure. If I eat 3 slices per time I eat pizza, then that means I eat pizza about 10 times per year. So that's less than once a month. I guess that's kind of close. But then there's lots of people who don't eat pizza at all, or people that eat pizza a lot all the time. So it averages it out. So according to the report, how many independent pizza stores are there in the United States? So how many independent pizza stores? Well, we know that 59% of all the stores will give us the independent stores. Okay, and how many stores are there total? 67,554. So we multiply that by 0.59, and it'll tell us that there are 39,857 independent stores in the United States. Here we've got the same pie chart there, and then we've got a chart for U.S. pizza sales. It says how many degrees make up the angle for the section representing sales by other top chains. So sales by other top chains. So there is our sales by other top chains. So how many degrees? Well, we take 18%, change that to a decimal, multiply by 360 degrees, and so that little area is about 64.8 degrees. Then it asks how many degrees make up the angle for the number of stores for other top chains. So here's the stores for other top chains. It was 15%. Multiply that by 60. That would be Peaches meowing. I don't know why she's meowing. Anyway, So that would be 54 degrees for the area in the stores pie chart. So the next part asks, according to the report, Pizza Hut has over 7,500 stores in the United States. Based on the pie chart representing numbers of stores, how many stores does Pizza Hut have? Okay, so if they have 7,500 Pizza Hut stores, and there are a total of 67,554 stores, then that means 11.1% of our stores are Pizza Hut. Let's see. She's looking out the door and meowing. I don't see anything. Okay. Be quiet. Anyway. So based on the pie chart representing number of stores, how many stores does Pizza Hut have? Well, 11.1% of all the stores will be the Pizza Hut stores. So we'll say about 11%, so 0.11 of, so times 67,554 gives us 7,431 Pizza Hut stores. Compare your result to the number given in the article and discuss possible reasons for discrepancies. So Pizza Hut, it says, has over 7,500 stores. And we got 7,431. Well, that's still pretty close. So we can say that the discrepancy is probably due to rounding area. On someone's part, anyway. Next it says, for every $20 spent on average pizza in the United States, how much goes to chain pizzerias? So, chain pizzerias are all of these here. Okay? So those are the chains and those are independent there. So the chains would be all of these. Okay, so if 51% of the sales goes to independent stores, then that means that chains take 49% of the sales. So how much of every $20 goes to chains? Well, we'd take 49% of our $20, $9.80 of that 20 would go to chains. And last, compare the percentage of independent pizza stores to the percentage of sales. What do you think the difference indicates? So the percentage of independent stores, there's 59% of the pizza stores in the United States are independent, but they only account for 51% of the sales. Why? What might that be? Well, there's several reasons, but one reason could be that the independent stores have less sales per store. So the independent stores may not sell quite as much pizza as the others, even though there's more of them. Okay? And that concludes section 1.2.